I love Frieren, but it's not the #1 anime. After combing through all 28 episodes alongside the 60 chapters of the manga frame by frame, panel by panel over 3 times in the making of this video, I can say it is one of the best of all time. But it's also overhyped. Take for example Frien's birthday. You all left tons of great comments on the last installment, with a few of them pointing out that they didn't agree with my take on the difference in their heights. While I can admit having her only be a bit taller helps to show how she's growing up, the anime snubs its nose at the source material since we never reach the point where they have their true heights like in the manga. And while some may think this is a dumb thing to get upset over, this attention to detail is what separates masterpieces from the rest of the rabble. So today, I'll be going through the other 20 episodes compared to the manga and show you why Frieren isn't the #1 anime. The rules are simple. Good things earn points and bad things lose points. We'll carry over the score from the last video and see how it fares at the end. If you disagree with my takes, tell me why you're wrong in the comments. I read them all. Episode 9. Aura, the Guillotine. We get a small repeat of what Lugner said at the end of episode 8. I think it's unnecessary given how strong of an ending it was. Another added light in the darkness outside the church. The design of this room is different in many aspects, such as the added fireplace, the mirrors not being on the walls, and a few other details. I like the anime one better though. Her staff grip in the manga is different when she lands, though she switches in the next panel. The start of the fight is different as the Axe Knight doesn't attack right away. The weapons they are using in the anime are also more varied, and I think that's an improvement. Spears are dope. His body language in the anime is far more tense than in the manga. In the manga, the fight resumes after the scales explanation, however the anime overlays the dialogue with the fight, and I dig it. The anime cut the panel with Frieren blowing them away. The animation of Stark equipping his jacket is smooth as butter. It's really hard to tell in the manga that it's blood on his arms and collar, and until it's pointed out, you can't tell at all there is blood on Frien's coat, but the anime, it's obvious right away that it's on them. Great directional audio. I'm going to be pointing this out a lot. The fights in the anime are once again longer than in the manga, and it's been elevated to a proper fight between 2 mages and 2 warriors. Seeing the high-flying fight between Frieren and Lugner was heads and shoulders above the manga, and while Line was the only one to use more moves in their fight, seeing her use a few different weapon styles was a great addition. We're off to a strong start with Madhouse flexing their best muscles in the fight scenes. We'll see if this persists. Episode 10. A Powerful Mage.
Frieren,
the talk with Flam at the start of the episode is anime only and redundant once we get to Frieren's origin story. Hey, my prediction was correct. This was her hometown. Not a hard assumption, mind you. Sorry, but my man in the manga is far more majestic than President Snow. No Flam's parents in the flashback is a major drop the ball moment. They're getting closer, but a basket is no replacement for a bucket. Frieren makes a log cabin in the anime versus a plank one. The quick flashbacks are very faithful, though it seems they added an extra one and changed the perspective of the Demon King to outside his castle. Very well done. While she drags the blade behind her in the anime, she does no such thing in the manga. I'm not sure why they changed it. And with the big reveal, suddenly Aura's grip changes. Yes, I didn't comment on it because it's simply very faithful without much change. But yes, it's a very cool moment. But everyone knows that, and this episode had a handful of small details change that they're usually very good about. Episode 11. Winter in the Northern Lands. The style of coach is very different. I like the manga one better. Oh, anime only cat. You know the drill. In the manga, he doesn't sit on his throne and instead remains standing. Once again, it's a sword instead of a guillotine. At least they're consistent. He's healing his torso instead of his arm, but given the fight makes sense. Plus, you're the Stark, so I'll give it a pass. The montage is very faithful. The map in the anime is far more detailed. I can excuse faithful fruit inclusion, but this jumbo berry special is anime only, and I count 13 pieces of fruit. More amazing equipping animation. They added a pot to the fireplace here where they cook their food. Their sleeping positions are also different, but Frieren is still shivering. They added a box to these push-ups as well as these idols when Frieren and Kraft discuss their faith, and they added the bit with the progression of everyone praying over their meals. I like it.
Frieren.
They added a few extra lines to the goodbye, but they were nice. Madhouse should have known better about bringing fruit around me. Let's see if they can recover. Episode 12, A Real Hero. We get an anime-only scene of Frieren actually falling asleep. A nice touch. No flashback to Kid Himmel getting the replica or a young Himmel and Hider. Hey, you. Finally awake. Alright, in the last video, I criticized a bunch of towns with different wall designs from the manga, but this one is built into the landscape. Approved. The chief doesn't do the whole tippy toes bit in the manga, but I think it's very cute. The chief's house is way less homely in the manga. Not sure how I feel about the redesign. They sit on the floor rather than in chairs. Yeah, I'm docking points. Is it just me, or does the replica look better than the real deal in the anime? They got rid of Frieren's smile when she spoke about him living up to his words. They added Stark flashbacks here. Nice touch. This amount of feet is anime only. The bottle is a lot more stylized in the anime. We see her pick up the ring, which she doesn't do in the manga, foreshadowing for later. Anime only flash to the sword, lots of implications, and I like it. Why does he bite his fork? While the fight scenes are the one consistent elevation point in the anime, Frieren is at its best during the Slice of Life episodes, and this one is no different. Episode 13, Aversion to One's Own Kind. The window here is in a different spot, way higher over his head. Gorilla looks way more mature in the manga than in the anime. He wasn't as deep into the swamp in the manga, but the anime adds more tension to the silly situation. Stark didn't have any cloth in the manga. They changed the flashback from Sign walking with his brother to the roof scene. I think it's a good way to contrast how he is now. That's certainly not the same in the manga. Can we please get some Sign consistency? This bread no longer has its sleeve. I think Frieren would be a bit more sanitary than that. This chair design is different, kind of funky. I prefer it to these open back chairs though. None of them were drinking the manga for whatever reason. This is more on brand. The overlay dialogue transition is a great way to adapt how the manga did it. Well done. This is a lie. They had to buy it back from the local merchant, though they did have a Harvest Festival discount with the axe thrown in as a part of a deal. Not sure why they changed it. The montage is changed from the manga, but the anime's version is serviceable. Added a lantern for the light at night. His outfit design in the manga is very different from the anime, but I do like the anime version. They were sitting and fishing. The riverbank was also higher. I checked for it again, but I couldn't find where this idolatry pops up in the manga. They also added Start catching the fish. Not a big point swing, but a faithful episode with one of the best characters in the IP. Episode 14, Privilege of the Young. The party arriving in the Rod region and the flashback with the Demon Slayer group are anime only. More Sign incongruency. Another added lantern, and now candles. Sign doesn't sit down to massage his leg in the manga, but it's a good addition. This wrapping is different from the manga. They seem to like changing this too. Frieren doesn't apologize in the manga, but I feel like she would have. More lantern gaming. They must really hate the stick pot, huh? The panel was beautiful in the manga, and it's even better here. I have very little to say about this episode, and that's because it's simply incredibly faithful to the source in dang near every single way, though it also doesn't necessarily elevate it in a major way. Episode 15, Smells Like Trouble. The carriage scene at the start is anime only and gives us viewers a bit of time reference on how long they have been traveling. Anime got rid of the rope guardrail. The gang doesn't commit trespass in the manga. This montage is faithful except for the trail. Another incredibly well done fight. I feel like I should make a video about combat in Frieren. I have an interesting point to bring up for another time though. I can't tell due to the angle. I guess I'll give Vorig a pass. So all the carriages have been changed, huh? Still, I like the manga design way more. The anime does away with some of the comedic positioning in the manga, but it's more realistic. Both work. We get to see how Frieren and Frieren spend their time while waiting for Stark. None of Friern's etiquette training is shown in the manga, so it's great to see here. The Stark and Frieren dance sequence is also anime only, and while not on the level of villainous anime, it's still great. The anime fills these empty frames with actual paintings. Another well-done slice-of-life anime episode with a handful of anime-only scenes that serve to flesh out the moments left undrawn in the manga. Episode 16, Long-Lived Friends. While this sequence is mentioned later in the anime, we don't actually get to see it in the manga. They added in a small travel montage, including Stark helping Frieren off the log. This is the inn, where's the sign, Madhouse? And they were inside the inn! These are carrots and not bell peppers, and this is a box, not a basket. Stark didn't seem like he struggled that much in the manga, and also doesn't fall asleep at the table. They also ate whole chickens and bread instead of what looks to be omu rice, croissants, sausage, and some mystery wedges. We don't see him open his eyes once in the manga, so getting to see it during the flashback in the anime is nice. Alright, bridge is acceptable. In the manga, she gives Sign a proper envelope for the letter. Blacksmith in the manga has a bookshelf behind him instead of the massive forge. I think the anime is more on brand. Goira, warrior. Episode 17, Take Care. The backdrop for the sunset is a tree line instead of mountains. Either works. Could just be a translation thing, but borrowing isn't the same as renting a cabin. This fellow here also didn't follow Stark back to the party in the anime. A nice anime-only touch to show them all praying before eating, a progression from their previous winter. Alright, we got accurate signage this time. The overhang has been added, but it's a good touch. The anime adds in some flashbacks from Sign's time with the party, which helps to show just how much they've adventured together in this short time. I've just accepted that we'll never get the stick gaming campfire cooking setup, but that doesn't mean I won't still take away points every time I see it. Also, they sleep in this little rock outcropping with hay rather than out in the open. This milking scene is anime only. The cows are too. This isn't actually a change, but this Frieren face is just funny. Alright, the topic from the intro. Some people gave me shit last time when I compared Frieren and Frieren's heights, but even here I feel like Stark towers over her in the manga, while here their heights are more comparable in the anime. This big tree bridge is anime only. They find a cave for their fire instead of the open as well. Not sure why they changed the path to the tree with rocky terrain versus the forest path. Spoon feed instead of bowl slurp. More anime-only milking instead of firewood chopping. Added in gratitude to Cabin Lady, on brand for Frieren. Goodbyes and growing up, another great slice of life episode, even if the heights were wrong. Episode 18, First Class Mage Exam. Yeah, this ain't the same city, you're not fooling me. Alright, I touched on it before, but I wonder if warriors ever fight mages or priests and vice versa. We don't see the archetypes mix at all in the first 7 volumes of the manga, nor any point in the anime. Craft's form is different from the manga. We do get to see the whole scuffle though. Even on the close-up, that ain't the same building. Another height comparison with all 3 in the frame. You can't tell me they didn't shrink Stark and Frieren. They added the target dummy, the ladder, more candles on the jumbo cape, but skipped over them getting ready before the exam. All in all, good montage. I just noticed on the rewatch, but Sense actually scoffs here when he mentions Ubel killing the first class mage. Good foreshadowing for her pacifist test, as well as them actually having spoken before. They added in the rock, paper, scissors battle. The cage has disappeared, a rare moment where the anime loses track of an item. The montage is a bit different, but good. Luine still can't find the cage though. The anime did a great job showing that it missed due to her turning at the last moment. She doesn't get pinned down in the manga, but I think it adds to the tension nicely. They had this conversation while walking back in the manga, but I think setting it on the cliff for the fade transition was a good directing decision. It's not a shonen anime without an exam of some sort, and Frieren's brand of it is certainly one of the better ones. Episode 19, Well Laid Plans. We get a light recap and double back to some panels that were skipped over. They definitely reordered it to help drive in the point with this anime only sleeping scene. Not bad. Kane's expression here geeks with the sound effect. We don't get the panel of the folk people. Centimeters? Meters? Bro, what the fuck is... I'm taking everybody's green card. Also, Luine still hasn't found the cage. They were walking about in the manga rather than being held up in the cave. The dried up riverbed is accurate though. In the manga, Frieren is far more accurate with her defensive magic, only blocking at the point of impact. Also, in the manga, it's Ubel who charges Weirabel rather than the other way around. The anime does give us nice info pop-ups on the other mages though. The manga does have them too, but it's just a bit later. Is it just me, or is this always the anime ice freezing sound effect? Their setup is way nicer in the anime. In the manga, Ere uses defensive magic rather than dodging like in the anime, but the directional and distance audio here is divine. So I'm gonna let it slide. The fights here are an elevation of the manga once more, and the episode as a whole was very faithful. Episode 20, Necessary Killing. The anime showcases incredibly well how much Frieren outclasses Ere with her endless assault of Zultrak. Holy shit, his VA bodied this read. No changes. Four Eyes is just him. They clarified this in the anime since it seemed like he didn't believe her in the manga. It's so subtle, but he makes a small sigh after taking the drink here. The audio guy's cooked. In the manga, Frieren explains what Jillware is rather than Kana needing to ask. Does give Luine a chance to show her knowledge though. Not many differences this episode. It was very faithful to the manga and continues the trend of elevating the fights. Episode 21, The World of Magic. We get a small anime-only segment from the first time Serie meets Frieren to lead into the episode. It's a nice reveal. She's doing more of an L-style squat than sitting cross-legged. Her throne is also larger in the anime. There's not many mages that don't use a staff. I wonder if it's similar to the 1 versus 2 hands bit in Fairy Tail with Ice Make Magic. Man, they cooked with the audio. Yeah, the barrier breaking here is so incredibly well animated.
詳細については追っ
Love this added non-verbal communication between the two. Their positions in the manga work for this scene as well. That is not the same barkeep, and the anime has been fairly consistent with keeping faithful background characters thus far. The background of this bar, including the seats and counter, are also different. Another really faithful episode wrapping up the first part of the exams. We need a bit more than faithful to come back though. Episode 22, Future Enemies. That is not the sign from the manga, but this one is cooler. I'll let it slide. It's even got a duck.
Hi, hi.
They didn't have to, but it was a nice touch to animate him putting his boots on.
まだあるのかよ。
The storefront is fairly different here, but more importantly, the sign is wrong. This isn't a general goods store. Magical street lamps are a nice addition to the Magic City. It comes in a wrapper in the manga, but I am a man of quantity when it comes to grandma sweets. Some windows have bars on them in the manga. I haven't seen any here. The lamps do compensate though. You know the rules.
なんでビアベルを殺さなかったの？殺すチャンスあったでしょ。
I only put it together now, but Ubel definitely finds Frieren boring because she doesn't use any special spells in combat, thus she doesn't have a reason to try and empathize. At least that's my running theory. Somehow, they plastered even more signage here. The building also isn't the same. I do like the design though.
意外と小食なんだね。
いいだろ別に。
A bit of added Ubel and Four Eyes dialogue.
よくぞ部の真髄までたどり着いた。
Alright, I've been skimping on the axe placement analysis this video, but here's a clear one. He's trying to take someone's toe off again. Another signage and architectural change, but this one's an upgrade. Anime only parents. They nailed the happy Frieren face, though it could be a bit more roundish. The design of the window here is different. I prefer the manga. The bird tapped on the window in the manga to get their attention. The letter is also not a letter anymore. We do get to see what's on the paper though, which is a nice touch. She doesn't manhandle the bird in the manga. I can't tell why they made the change they did. They didn't animate the panel where they battle the massive boars together. They foreshadow what they'll be doing unlike in the manga, and with it being a cliffhanger for their weekly release schedule, it does a great job building hype. Slowly but surely, Madhouse is mounting a comeback in the home stretch. Episode 23, Conquering the Labyrinth. The entrance to the tomb is very different from the source. Frankly, I'm torn on which one I like more, so I'll say the manga for now.
私が担当する試験に関しては
They added in a blurb about rumors about Sense, but I do feel she's a character who would address such things.
全員にこの瓶を渡しておこう。
The manga shows an example of what happens when the bottle is used, but I think saving it for when it actually happens was a good call. Burns mapping spell looks different in the anime, but I like the design choice.
次の階層に続く階段だな。
Actually, the stairs curved clockwise.
いつまでもこうはいかないよ。旅が進めば命がけのダンジョンも増えてくる。
そうだそうだ。
I haven't commented on it before, but the anime does a great job with including the small blurbs and comments from other characters in a way that feels like it's authentic from the source. From the timing to the directional audio, it's fantastic execution.
告げている。
Mimic. Their marching order is different here. Luine should be in the front of the Earth Dude. They added in how the gargoyles got activated with the door shenanigans. Choreography of this fight as well as its length is far greater in the anime. Y'all are probably tired of me saying this over and over, but man, they really elevate every fight that comes on screen. The Golem's first appearance in the anime is a great showcase of the gap that can be had between various mages, even those of first class.
こういう時はね、逆に押し込むんだよ。ミミックがおえってなって噛むのやめるから。
A great adaptation of the Little Mimic infograph. A bit of foreshadowing of the next major problem the mages face in the dungeon. Instead of him bringing a bouquet of flowers, he seemed to grow them beneath his feet. Not sure about the change here. Another banger fight scene. I really like the teamwork tactic of putting up the wall and Denkin firing through the visual concealment. The door design is different here. Another change in the marching order. Do they not know the importance of positioning? Another well-paced episode that's very faithful to the source, with the anime completely turning things around. Episode 24, Perfect Replicas.
シュピーゲルと呼んでいる。
This sitting area is different, with the books spaced out more from the seats, but the chair and chinaware arrangement is very similar, if not different in design. Their retreat is far more intense than in the manga. His blood trail is far less pronounced than in the manga. Usually it's the opposite.
おいま
They added the dust cover here, which obscured the vision of both, preventing the binding spell. The first-person perspective does a great job showing how the clone is never fully within view.
ちょっとマップ見せて。
This sequence is anime only, but adds onto Frieren's experience in dungeons. On second look, I think I like the Grandor more. Their sitting positions are wildly different.
高速魔法が通用しませんね。
Frieren didn't hug her back in the manga, but it's cute. Ara.
エイデル2級魔法使いなら
One thing the manga did well was having images of the characters being referenced pop up behind the speaker, something the anime sadly didn't carry over. Another very well animated fight sequence. Anime only montage sequence. Their positioning is a lot better now. This entire fight is anime only, and it's nice that they didn't just forget about them like the manga did. This had the most anime only content in the entire series, but it just goes to showcase just how much attention to detail there is, with the teams that are forgotten in the manga getting a chance to show off in the anime. Episode 25, A Fatal Vulnerability.
エイデルの精神魔法を使って。ゲンストさん。
Dunst's wound is far more pronounced in the anime. His movements and body language also lend more to the fact that he is heavily injured. We see way more of Blaze's heroic standoff, which is nice for a side character.
その性質がわからんまま手は出せん。特に複製体特有の
The manga does this really subtly, but they frame in Earthboy right before he has lines in the next panel, and the anime doesn't really pick up on this.
先見体の観測結果によると
And that's not where they were standing. Frieren's montages are great, there's no exception here. They animated the short flashback really well, but Hyder didn't actually take the day off. Put some respect on my man's name. These scribbles are just completely different, but it seems to match the design of the room they are about to enter, as well as the general dungeon layout, which is a really nice change.
私は歴史上で最も多くのダンジョンを攻略したパーティーの魔法使いだよ。
I love her confidence here, especially since Frieren is usually very humble about her abilities. Lofern montage. Syria using magic to rip up the will is very on brand.
人間がおよそ文明と呼べるものを築き上げてから長い年月が経った。
The anime actually shows us the civilization.
たった1000年だ。たった1000年で人間の時代がやってくる。
Anime-only montages doing what they do best. Another great episode with plenty of touches that fill in the gaps in the manga, causing the anime to launch well ahead in score. Episode 26, The Height of Magic. As usual, the fight snippets are very well animated.
完璧にイメージできないものは魔法では実現できない。
I think the whole bit on imagination from both the anime and the manga undermines a lot of the magic system, as it feels like it's not properly juxtaposed with the other principles that set mages apart. While it's certainly a key component, it's not the full story, and yet this segment leads the viewer to believe that so long as you can imagine it, you can do it, which is certainly not the case in and of itself. I've linked a Reddit post with an explanation that really resonated with me. I say it every time it's on screen, but the fight scenes are beautifully done. On brand helping for an up. Frieren absolutely blows the thing apart in the manga, which I think would have been hilarious to see. Outside of the magic system comment, I had very little to say about this episode. It's mainly the various fight scenes wrapping up the second exam, and they are done incredibly well. Episode 27, An Era of Humans.
確かに部の道に果てはない。
Nuh-uh, that is not the same building.
ハイター様からもらった杖です。
The bow in her hair is very subtle in the manga, but they made sure to include it in the anime.
少なくとも私には捨てるだなんて発想はありませんでした。
Oh, the audio with her arms covering her mouth. They are gods, I tell you, gods.
商売の邪魔だから帰れ。
He picks up a book instead of a bottle.
開ける。
She doesn't offer him a half-eaten one in the manga.
電剣、お前は知らないだろうが、どんな最悪な気分でも人は食っていくために働かなければならん。
Ain't that the truth?
そうか。
In the manga, Denkin puts it back where it belongs. The books are also way less organized in the manga. I feel like this dude would be messy. Yes, I'm pointing it out every time I hear it. street lamp accompanied by anime-only signage of dubious quality.
いっそのこと慎重し
This little chat is anime only. I'm not 100% sold on if I like it ruining her surprise of seeing it fixed or not. Great juxtaposition with sleepy Frieren, on brand with Fern tucking her in, even if these scenes after grabbing the staff are anime only.
都合が悪い時はいつもそうだな。
Hey yo, where is Serie's drip?
熟練の魔法使いの戦いにおいて相手の魔力を見誤るというのは死に直結しかねない。これだけの
There it is. Should have started with it. The garden in the anime is gorgeous.
理由を聞いてもいい？
一級魔法使いになった自分の姿がイメージできないだろう。
Yes, visualization, but I won't belabor the previous point.
どうして私を仲間にしたの？
Wrong seating placement.
だからね。
それならオートにいくらでもいるでしょ。私じゃなくてもいい。
Beautiful Himmel and Frieren scene. Respect the drip, lest you drown, and don't offer me half pieces of food, plebeian. Episode 28. It would be embarrassing when we meet again.
血の気と野心に
Damn, they laid the toes on. Thank you, Frieren, huh?
一応この通り
Again.
驚いたユーベルにもバレなかったのに
His pose in the manga is way more nonchalant though. Land is unironically my favorite mage in the series.
私を見てどう思った？
ちっちゃくて可愛いなと思いました。
Ara. Again.
これで故郷に墓参りに行ける
He specifies his wife's grave in the manga. I usually don't point out translation differences, but this one just feels wrong to me. The confectionaries are different in the manga and honestly look way better.
ありがとうございます。
Fern thanking people once again.
タメ口叩いてすみませんでした。
Don't think I didn't notice the incorrect seating arrangement. The chairs are snazzy though.
立ち入らないようにと。
All out of position. What if I fire Zoltrak at you? Your formation is broken. Also, where are Stark's axe?
気まぐれで取ったはずの弟子なのに一人一人の性格
Blink and you miss it, but this may be where the bird catching spell comes from. I know Frieren said it's a folk spell though, so hard to say.
フリーレン様、その方の怪我どうしたの？
Again, street lamp. They were walking through the forest, not by the ocean. Cue the ending montage with the outro, a great wrap-up to a great first season. Season 1 of Frieren is a masterclass of faithful adaptations with a crazy amount of attention to detail, various scenes that elevate the original manga panels, and using the medium to truly separate itself from the source material as something worthy of checking out even if you've already read the manga. While there are endless things to nitpick and comment on, it is undoubtedly a beloved show that has resonated with many. As for if it's the #1 anime, I'll leave that for you to decide. Spoiler, it's not.